Picture it. Saturday, May the 31st, 1975. If you were in Britain on that day, you weren't just in a good mood. You were ecstatic. The thermometers were hitting a glorious 25 degrees Celsius. Now, in other parts of the world, 25 degrees is just a pleasant Tuesday. But in Britain, oh, come on, that is basically tropical. That is stop the car and get the deck chairs out weather. The entire country was bathed in wall-to-wall sunshine. Can you smell it? That distinctive scent of ambre solaire sun cream mixing with the charcoal smoke from 1,000 barbecues. The parks were full, the beaches were packed, and everywhere you looked there were pale British legs seeing daylight for the first time in months. It was the 70s, remember, so we are talking about men sweating in tight polyester shirts and ladies in floral sundresses sipping tea in the garden, absolutely convinced that life was perfect. We made the classic mistake, the fatal error. We believed the sky. Everyone, and I mean everyone, looked up at that blazing blue canopy and thought, this is it. Summer has arrived early. We've done it. We've survived the winter. Fathers across the nation confidently marched up to the attic and shoved the heavy wool coats, the scarves, and the hot water bottles into the darkest corners. Won't be needing these for 6 months, they declared. Famous last words. Because while we were busy eating 99 flakes and complaining about the heat, something peculiar was happening up north. Mother Nature wasn't just planning a change in the weather, she was planning a prank, a massive atmospheric practical joke. You see, usually our weather comes from the Atlantic, mild, wet, predictable. But that weekend, a giant high-pressure system decided to park itself over the Atlantic, and a low-pressure system sat over Europe. Together, they didn't just open a window, they opened a funnel, a direct, uninterrupted highway dragging Arctic air straight down from the North Pole across Scandinavia and aiming it right at our sunburnt faces.
Sunday, June the 1st, was still warm, but the air started to feel different, a bit thin, a bit sharp. And then came Monday morning, June the 2nd. Imagine waking up. You reach for your light cotton shirt, expecting another golden day. You pull back the curtains, ready to greet the sun. But instead of sunshine, you see white. Not fog, not mist. Snow. Actual falling, settling snow. In June. People rubbed their eyes. They thought they were still dreaming, or maybe they had too much sherry at the barbecue the night before. But no, the roses in the garden were buried. The cricket pitches were frozen. The temperature had plummeted from a sweating 25 degrees to a bone-rattling 2 degrees in less than 48 hours. Brr, just thinking about it gives me goosebumps. We went to bed in summer and woke up in the middle of a Dickensian winter, and nobody, absolutely nobody, was ready for what was about to happen on the cricket pitch in Buxton. Now, if you want to see the truly ridiculous side of this story, we have to travel to Buxton in Derbyshire. Local folks know Buxton is always a bit fresh, but what happened there on June the 2nd wasn't just weather, it was a comedy sketch written by Mother Nature. The match was Derbyshire versus Lancashire, a serious affair. Just 2 days earlier, on that scorching Saturday, the West Indies legend Clive Lloyd had been smashing the ball all over the park. It was glorious. The crowd was sunburnt, the beer was flowing, and cricket was the winner. Fast forward 48 hours. The players walked out onto the pitch, and they weren't greeted by applause. They were greeted by a blizzard. We are talking about big, wet, heavy flakes, the kind of snow that slaps you in the face. Within minutes, the lush green outfield looked like the icing on a Christmas cake.
Enter the legendary umpire, Dickie Bird. Now, Dickie had seen everything in cricket, but he had never seen anything like this. He walked out to inspect the pitch, and the snow was literally coming up over his boots. And this is where it gets good. This is the moment that proves history is funnier than fiction. One of the batsmen, Ashley Harvey Walker, was out there in the middle, freezing. He was shivering so violently that he couldn't focus. He looked at the umpire, then he did something unforgettable. He reached into his mouth, pop, and took out his false teeth. He handed his dentures to Dickie Bird and said, "Here, Dickie, you'd better put these in your pocket. It's so cold I'm afraid I'll chatter them into pieces." Imagine that for a second. Just picture it. There stands one of the most respected umpires in the world, in the middle of a blizzard in June, holding a grown man's teeth in his pocket for safekeeping. You literally couldn't make this up. If you put this in a movie script, the producers would say, "No, that's too silly. Nobody will believe it." But it happened. Clive Lloyd, the man who had been a superhero on Saturday, was now scooping up snowballs and throwing them at the wicket-keeper. A snowball fight in the middle of a professional cricket match. Naturally, they had to stop the game. Not because of rain, not because of bad light, but because the bowlers couldn't run up without slipping, and the ball was picking up snow like a rolling snowman. Snow stopped play. 3 words that should never appear on a cricket scoreboard in June. But in 1975, the rule book didn't just go out the window. It was buried under 3 inches of ice. But the madness didn't stop at the cricket ground. Oh no, it followed us home. Across the country, millions of British dads faced their worst nightmare. They had to turn the central heating back on.
You have to understand, in a British household, turning off the heating for the summer is a sacred ceremony. It's a declaration of victory. To turn it back on in June, that is a spiritual defeat. People were digging through cupboards looking for hot water bottles they hadn't seen since Christmas. The poor gardeners were the worst hit. They stood at their windows watching their prize-winning roses shivering under a blanket of white, looking like confused wedding cakes. And the sheep, farmers in the Highlands, found newborn lambs huddled together, wondering if they'd been born on the wrong planet. It was miserable, it was cold, it was expensive. And then, snap! Just like that, Mother Nature decided she was bored with the winter theme. By Wednesday, a warm front swept in from the southwest. The Arctic air was shoved back to the North Pole where it belonged. The snow melted so fast it was like a magic trick. By the following weekend, just 7 days after the snowstorm, temperatures were back in the high 20s. The sun was blazing, the birds were singing as if nothing had happened. It was gaslighting on a national scale. People who had been scraping ice off their windshields on Monday were back in their swimsuits on Saturday, applying aloe vera to their sunburns. It was meteorological whiplash. But here is the twist that gives this story a strange, almost spooky significance. That snow in June wasn't just a freak event. It was an omen.
It was the final wobble before the climate locked into one of the most intense patterns in history. That brief, icy blast was the prelude to the legendary heatwave and drought of 1976. It was as if the weather took a deep, freezing breath before screaming at us with heat for the next 18 months. So, what did we learn from the summer of 1975? We learned that in Britain, summer is not a season, it is merely a suggestion. We learned that you should never, ever put your winter coat too far away. And most importantly, we learned why we are the way we are. We don't carry umbrellas in July because we are pessimistic. We carry them because we remember 1975. We remember the day the sky promised us paradise and gave us a snowball fight instead. So, the next time you see a dark cloud on a sunny day, don't ignore it. It might just be June coming to say hello. Ultimately, The Great Snow of June 1975 is more than just a weather statistic. It is a testament to the British spirit. It reminds us that no matter what the sky throws at us, be it rain, hail or snow in the middle of a cricket match, we don't panic. We just put on another jumper, make a strong pot of tea and carry on. It keeps us humble, it keeps us on our toes, and it gives us something to moan about, which, let's be honest, is our national hobby. But now I want to turn this over to you. Were you there? Do you remember waking up to a white garden that Monday morning? Did your school close? Did your dad refuse to turn the heating back on because it's technically summer? Or maybe you're too young to remember, but you've heard the legends from your grandparents. Whatever your story is, please share it in the comments below. We are building an archive of memories here, and your story is the most important part of it. If you enjoyed this chilly trip down memory lane, please give this video a like. It helps warm up the algorithm. And do consider subscribing to the Nostalgia Brit. We have plenty more stories from the 70s, 80s and 90s waiting to be told. Until next time, keep your kettle hot and maybe, just maybe, keep a woolly hat nearby. You never know what June might bring. Cheers.